Kings, we are the dreams of the legendary. I don't understand why all this talking is necessary. Why you exchanging heated vocabulary?
Hey there, I'm Lord Farquaad and welcome back to another video about Panau Survival. Today we're going to be talking about the new combat update that is now live for Panau Survival. This should improve your hit detection a lot and make it a lot easier to kill people if you have the right aim. This new system has a lot of skill-based aspects to it, so I'll explain those right now. So first, when you shoot someone, you'll see a few things that are new. You'll see the damage you've done to them. If you didn't do any damage, you won't see damage. So as you can see, I did 18 damage with the body shot. And if I shoot the head, it does 36 damage. In addition, we also have bloom or spread. By this, I mean the more you shoot, the less accurate your shots become. So you can see the circle grows bigger every time I shoot, and that's the bloom for the weapon. So each weapon has specific bloom amounts for each gun, so you can try those out. And if you have no bloom like I do right now, your shots will be 100% accurate. So it doesn't actually matter if you zoom in or not, whether your shots are accurate or not. It doesn't actually affect the calculations. But as you can see, if I shoot, there was a bullet right there, the little yellow thing that you saw. So there are hit markers like those as well, so you can see where your bullets actually hit. Sometimes you'll see two bullets, and that is just because you can't really disable the base game bullet effect. So one of them is the base game effect, and one of them is the effect that this new hit detection system has. So it might be a little confusing, but if you see the damage numbers when you shoot people, then you know you did damage. Another thing to keep in mind is that sometimes you might see blood like you hit a person with a bullet, but that's not always the case. That's because the blood comes from the base hit detection system. There's no way for me to really disable that without getting super complex. So sometimes you might be going like this, and you'll see the blood, but only some of the shots are hitting because of the bloom. So if you have no bloom, your shots will be 100% accurate, and you'll hit the person right where you aim. But after you shoot a bunch, you may not hit them as often, or your bullets may not go exactly where you want them to go. Now, the bloom circle does not correlate to exactly the area in which your bullets go. It is just an indicator of how much bloom you have. So if I shoot and you see the circle does not mean my bullets will go in that circle. It just means you have this much bloom. So the bigger the circle is, the more bloom you have, and the less accurate you'll be. So if you take your time to shoot down enemies that are running away, you can be fairly accurate. However, one thing to keep in mind is that bullets do have travel time as well. So sometimes you might shoot and it'll take a moment to get there or so. So in some cases, you might have to lead your shots and shoot slightly ahead of the person that you want to deal damage to. So as you can see here, the bloom for weapons with a high fire rate, such as the assault rifle or machine gun, can affect combat greatly. As you can see, I'm dealing damage, but now I'm not dealing so much damage because the shots are just going everywhere. So if I slow down and just take shots one at a time, then as you can see, it does more damage because I'm actually hitting more of those shots. So sometimes you might be aiming right at that person, but the shots aren't hitting, and that's because of the bloom. And this is also the case if someone's parachuting around going very rapidly and you're shooting at them and not hitting. Even with the bloom at 0, this is just indicative of the travel time for bullets, so you just may have to lead that and have some practice to get used to how this new system works. You can also see the bloom, kind of how the bloom works, by just shooting a wall and wasting all your ammo, because everyone loves to waste ammo. But as you can see, those are all my shots right there. So these little yellow indicators are the actual positions of where the simulated bullets of the new hit detection system are. So sometimes you might see your base game bullet go somewhere else, and just ignore that. It doesn't do any damage. Just look for the actual bullets and where they hit. Another big change in this combat update is the addition of damage to unoccupied vehicles, because the base Just Cause 2 multiplayer system does not allow for this, but now you should be able to damage them with various guns and explosives. So as you can see, I'm shooting this car and it's doing 0.72 damage. So the damage values for every vehicle or person are out of 100. So you'll do a lot less damage to vehicles as compared to people, because vehicles have more armor. Certain vehicles, such as attack helicopters and other ones with more armor, do actually have armor, so those will take even less damage from guns and explosions. But as you can see, I'm dealing damage to this. We can check the health. It says 68%, and if we shoot it a little bit more, it now says 61%. So as you can see, it does deal damage to the vehicles. And just to show you, grenades also deal damage, as well as claymores and C4 to vehicles. So if I just throw a grenade, you'll see that it explodes and slightly knocks the vehicle back as well, depending on where it is. As you can see, it has 41% health, so that's a lot less than before. Let's just get one underneath the car and deal a little bit more damage. And as you can see, it's now smoking and it's finally exploded. So if someone's not in their vehicle, you can still go ahead and destroy it so that they have no way to escape. Another change with this new combat system is the addition of this new hit detection to vehicles with weapons. So as you can see, I'm in an attack helicopter right now with some mounted guns, and the reticle is a custom reticle now. So the bullets go where the reticle is. Sometimes it may not be completely accurate to where you want to shoot, but it should generally be pretty good most of the time. And as you can see, you can kind of see the two different bullets here. You can see the base game bullets that are coming out from either side, and then the simulated ones in the middle that are kind of just like lines. And those are the ones that actually deal damage. As you can see, there's also bloom here, but there's an additional bar at the top, which is heat. So for vehicles, because they have unlimited ammo, I had to think of a different way to kind of limit the combat power of them and still try to make it skill-based. So you would have to aim and not just spray down people wherever they go. So with this system, the bloom gets higher, your shots get less accurate, and then the heat also goes up. And when the heat reaches maximum, then you have to wait until it goes all the way down to 0 until you can fire more bullets. So I'll show you in a second. Right now, let's just pretend I'm gunning down someone who's running, right? And then I can't shoot anymore because the heat reached maximum. So now I have to wait until that goes down to 0. So this should help to balance out the infinite ammo of vehicles because they're very powerful and can do a lot of damage. Vehicles are also best for vehicle-to-vehicle combat because, as you saw earlier, guns do not deal too much damage to vehicles. 0.18 damage to this jet here, and 0.22 damage to this helicopter. So that's not too much damage, and that would take a lot of bullets. But if I get into this helicopter and use the bullets on the jet, it does a lot more damage because vehicles are meant to now be fighting each other instead of just gunning down people. But you still can gun down people. It just takes a little bit more time and effort. So as you can see, I'm dealing 2 damage, but a lot of it. And if I just keep going, then it'll eventually set on fire and explode. So because normal guns don't deal too much damage to vehicles, there are other ways to damage them if you're not in a vehicle yourself. The first way is through a rocket launcher or a grenade launcher. As you can see, it does 18 damage, which is a lot more than any of the normal guns with bullets do. So with just a few rockets, we can set this thing on fire and then it will explode. Another way to do this is to use explosives such as C4, claymores, or HE grenades. In addition to the change of vehicle guns that shoot bullets, there are also changes to vehicles that have rockets. So as you can see, there's a custom reticle and there's bloom, and you can see that as I shoot, it looks very similar to how the attack helicopter shot, and it has heat as well. However, when I shoot rockets, there's also another blue bar right underneath, and that's the cooldown for rockets. So you can't shoot another rocket until that blue bar goes all the way down to 0. And of course, all of these changes are subject to, adjustments and balances and all sorts of stuff. So this probably won't be its final form, but this is a good place to start. As you can see, we're aiming around, and they generally go where we want them to. And now I've overheated, and I can't shoot rockets either. So for vehicles with both guns and rockets, if you overheat, it disables all of your combat abilities. So be careful about that. Additionally, we've got melee in now. So if you have a grapple hook enabled, or equipped rather, you'll do the classic grapple hook animation, but now does damage, which is 25% of health to unarmored enemies and less depending on the armor that they're wearing. But if you don't have a grapple hook, you can also melee with just a kick, which is still on the same keybind, which is Q. And there's also one other kick that you can do, which is a sliding kick, which knocks people down. So if you run and then kick, you'll do the sliding kick. And if you aim it just right, you can knock people down. Might take a couple of hits. And see, now he is knocked down and you can kick him a few times when he's on the ground. As you can see, just like that. So kicks should be a fun way, and they do deal a significant amount of damage to unarmored enemies. So if you do sneak up on someone and are able to kick them, then you can take advantage of that. We've also got more sources of combat EXP for you now. When you destroy explosives planted by other players, you'll gain a little bit of combat EXP. So as you can see, I'm at 39%, and it's all just combat EXP. And if I destroy a few of these, you can see it's now at 42. And if I destroy one more, it's at 43. So it does give a significant amount in the lower levels. So instead of just picking up the claymores that you see, you can instead destroy them and get a little bit of combat EXP bonus. This also applies to mines. Another change that we did was that we added combat EXP for exploding other types of stashes besides the lock stash. So now if you explode a barrel stash or a garbage stash, you will also get EXP. So in addition to lock stashes, you can also now hack into proximity alarms. Hacking into a proximity alarm will actually grant you ownership over that alarm, so it'll basically just become yours. So as you can see, this proximity alarm is owned by someone else, and if I use a hacker and I complete the hack successfully, then it will become my own proximity alarm. So as you can see, hack success, and now if I open it back up, I can see the dismount button. You know, it's mine. So then when someone else enters its view, it will send me the notifications instead of the original owner. This also gives combat EXP. As you can see, my combat EXP went up just a little bit from hacking the proximity alarm, and you also get combat EXP from hacking locked stashes. So as you can see, this is a locked stash, and if we use a hacker, and if we complete the hack in time, which may be a little difficult, we complete it with 0.1 seconds. And now if we open it up, we can see the health pack, and we are at maximum combat EXP, as you can see by the little yellow bar right there. So those are just a few of the ways to currently get combat EXP before we get NPCs in. Once we get NPCs, it'll be a lot easier to farm combat EXP and get those levels. One other change that I almost forgot to mention is that proximity alarms are now only destructible using explosives. So if you shoot them, nothing will happen. You have to use a grenade or C4 or detonate a mine or anything else you can think of. So as you can see, I'll throw a HE grenade and then it explodes and it gives me the notification that it was exploded. And there are a few other quality of life improvements to various aspects of the server, such as the map, vehicle health and speedometer, and all sorts of other stuff. So check it out now, and hope to see you on the server soon.